Hello, welcome to this week's episode of Pit Against a Live Flesh and Blood Call-In Show. I'm William Table and Legs, and I'm joined by my constant co-host Kevin Smurf Murphy. Kevin, what's up?
What's up?
And we're also joined by a local,
Some
Mara? Some nobody named Mara. Mara, introduce yourself.
my name is Mara Faris, also known as the Mother of Dragons, the Empress of Folklore. Do I have any other cool nicknames?
I think those are the coolest ones.
Those are the big ones. Those are the really cool ones. Artist / professional flesh and blood player /
That's really cool.
I don't know, toy
What do
collector.
you do for a living? Oh, I'm an artist and I'm a professional
card player.
Yeah, that's great.
It's a pretty sick job. It's a lot sicker when I also can tell people, be like, no, like I own a car that I bought with card game money. Because otherwise, you tell them you're an artist and a professional card player, and then they say, "Oh, you're unemployed." Got it.
They say, "Oh, I'm so sorry." Oh.
Yeah. All right, I have to delete my other.
No, I am also remaking another tweet.
Wait, I just retweeted your tweet, so don't tell me that.
No, you're good. No, I'm just making a new one in general. The pink one, the pink menace, says Allison.
Yeah, that would be me.
Yep. So Pit Against is a live call-in show. If you'd like to be on air live talking to the Empress of Volcor or Kevin, because he went to Worlds. If you want to talk to Kevin, I guess.
That makes him better than me.
If you want to talk about anything, well, not anything. If you have like a take, if you have something you want to talk about, join the Pit Against Discord, clicking on the link that's in the description. Join the waiting room channel. We'll put your take in the hot takes topic channel, and then whatever you write something in the write something stand in the voice one, and then we'll pull you in. Kevin, how was Worlds?
Worlds was sick.
You didn't do anything but Worlds, right?
I did not. I did not have time because I got there. I started doing World stuff on Thursday, and then World stuff Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then my flight was 6:30 in the morning on Monday. So
heck yeah,
I got no sightseeing time, and the convention center was on an island in the middle of Osaka.
Oh,
and there was only like office buildings around it. So
that's cool.
There wasn't much like immediately walking distance local stuff.
It was like travel the country a bit to go find the
if you were gonna sightsee, you had to like take time to go do it.
Mm-hmm.
So I unfortunately did not. I just was at Worlds the whole time. Played side events, played the calling.
You did really well in the calling, if I remember.
Nope.
Wow.
Nope.
Frick. I was trying to hype you up there. We'll move on to the next thing.
3-3.
3-3 is fine. 3-3 is fine against some of the best players in the world.
I'm okay with that 3-3 because I don't know that I've ever had variance that bad on Prism.
Well,
because I had 3 hands that day Prism. Of no heralds.
No heralds.
Including going second against Vincent in round 2. I draw up a hand of no heralds, and I raw play a Figment and a Pierce, and then I pass, and I draw a hand of no heralds. And I'm like,
that's rough.
This is bad.
That's rough.
I win that game.
Oh,
I don't know how.
I win that game. Sure.
And then round 5, I'm playing against Aurora, and they put me going second, as they should. Yeah. And like I block out, and they still connect with a burn up shock, so I start the game at 27. And then I draw up a hand of no heralds. So I play a Figment of War. No, I play a Figment of Rebirth out of my hand, pitching 2 yellow Wraths, and play a Pierce.
You win that game.
And I win that game.
No way! I don't know. It sounds like a fire start to a weekend.
I lost to an Azalea, who I drew no red heralds against when I have 11 in my deck. I lost to a Vincent in actually a very good game in round 6. That was a very good game. A lot of good back and forth. And
I played against a good
functioning.
Vincent.
You played against a Vincent?
Yeah. I played against a Vincent in paper.
Who the hell plays Vincent in paper? Literally nobody plays that deck.
Trying to. There we go.
Which way? I don't know which way. Am I this way?
Yeah.
You're the one you're on the bottom panel where it says guest.
Oh, I don't.
So
have
it's
the live
not
stream.
in Discord.
Yeah.
No, but you get an entire row to yourself. Whatever
that's
makes
sick.
you feel
Okay.
good about it.
Wait, so I can just do this? I can just be like, yeah.
Yes,
these
that's
two
us.
guys. Sick.
Yeah.
All right.
Sure.
I'm pointing at those two guys.
So I'll say it again
Yeah.
just to throw it out there because I know people are trickling in from having to restart the stream. Pit Against is a live call-in show. If you want to be on air talking tomorrow about your hot take, you can join our Discord, which is in the link in the description. And if you type something in the type channel and sit in the voice channel, we can pull you on to talk about that stuff. But first, frick, there's a bunch of stuff that happened. Because there was a bunch of stuff that was announced at Worlds, and there was a bunch of stuff that was announced like an hour ago.
I say we just got the Jarl, all the Jarl spoilers like right now.
Yep.
And we also have Kenny in chat. So the thing I think I want to start with, probably, unless y'all have something specific y'all wanted to talk about, was something, a real quick topic, something we'd kind of talked about before, is, and this is a little bit of a, not necessarily like one of the big things to talk about, is they announced that preview season for the next season will be, they show us the Majestics, and then we find out the commons and rares day of world premiere. Which is
I think this is a really good compromise from the Rosetta premiere.
I think we're all in agreement about that. Because I just like the idea of like world premiere, you find out cards as people are playing it, and you get tweets. And
I think that's super fun.
You get messages, and you're like, oh.
But yeah, I think we saw a lack of engagement with spoiler season in Rosetta spoiler season, just because people are like, hey, like you have to like try and make hype videos trying to hype up like this random common, and you're like, all right,
it's just Fry, and you're like, okay.
Like I literally had to like Kiki and I did another like series of the letters that we usually pass back and forth. And we're like trying to make like an interesting storyline around another Zap. We're just like, all right.
True.
Yep.
We did manage to make an interesting story out of it. And it was cool.
No, it was actually great, and it was exciting to see what people did. But I do understand what you mean, where it's like, imagine if somebody had, if someone saw, like, we didn't know the commons and rares, and someone saw what's it called, the Eternal Flame or whatever,
Eternal Inferno. Like if that was somebody's spoiler card, people would have been freaking out. Are we getting commons and rares of this card? Is there going to be a zero cost version of this? Like, you know, the hype would have been interesting.
I think it'll be cool. Like, it'll still make the draft format feel very Wild West because you're going to go into the draft format very blind. I really hope they give us a little bit of extra time at like the world premiere and like the first drafts just to like read the cards. But being able to actually see like the high level stuff, I think, is what gets people excited, and what's going to get people actually hyped for this set is going to be able to see those cards. So like, I think this is a good idea.
I think we're all in agreement with that. Yeah, go ahead.
I think Rosetta was the set to test that with, in a way, because there are actually some rares and commons that are really interesting for both constructed and stuff, like Somersault existing, Blast to Oblivion. Although we didn't have Somersault.
Somersault was not a spoiler because I opened a Somersault in my world premiere packs, read it 5 times, and then called a judge because I was like, Judge, there's no way this card works the way I think it does. And the judge is like, yeah, it works that way. And I was like,
oh my goodness.
Yeah, like Somersault should have been a spoiler. We got Blast to Oblivion, which was like way more exciting than any rare or common we had out of Mistveil. Like, they could not have done that spoiler setup with Mistveil. It would not have worked.
No.
Because everything was in the Majestics for Mistveil. There wasn't like anything like super exciting in
there's like a couple you could show
off,
like
there was like life gain in the assassin cards, and there was like
there's life gain in all the assassin cards.
Yeah, but I guess that's my point is, even then, like you're just like
I was thinking
like Rosetta was the set to try.
You could show off like Waxing Spectre, and like that's like neat to get a feel for like kind of what Enigma's gonna look like, but doesn't really tell you anything about like what her power is gonna be, you know? Other than
No.
like she just has these auras that have go again, and you're like, yeah, I kind of assumed that was gonna be a thing.
Yeah, you see Cosmo, and it's like, okay, so this is the baseline piece for it because it's the common. All right.
Right.
But like you see Blast Oblivion, it's like there's some stuff that can happen here, especially when we start seeing all the sigils come out. Like
Mhm.
that's what made the sigils also really interesting. Like Rosetta was the set to try it with.
Yeah.
I do think for the people at the premiere, this is going to be a bit more hectic. There's going to be probably similar number of judge calls, but like like it's going to be different because like you see all the Majestics for the first time, especially when they're played against you.
Mhm.
Like then it's like you have Gone in a Flash played against you, and you're like,
Excuse me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
you're saying,
Yeah.
what are you telling me this card does?
Which
It's like every time you played against somebody, you'd have to call a judge because they just literally don't
Yeah.
believe you.
yeah. Which like
Yeah.
admittedly, like having the Majestics up front, because you're right, the Majestics are gonna be the more complicated cards. Having the
Yeah.
Majestics up first does kind of get a lot of those weird rules interactions kind of out of the way. People are gonna see these
Yep.
cards and go, wait, does this work this way? I'm gonna go find out, learn the answer, and then go to the world premiere.
So we've
Yeah,
seen
which-
some of the cards already.
We've seen
Like
a couple.
we've seen
just
a couple, and some of them definitely look like they are Majestics.
Mhm.
Like they'll be Majestics.
Yes.
And so, like, do we think let's say it was reversed, do we think the Majestics would be so complicated it would be surprising in this upcoming set?
I think it's kind of impossible to say this early on.
True.
I think it's, you can't really say for sure. I think it would be hard to make a card more complicated than Gone in a Flash, though. Or like
Yeah.
that Gone in a Flash is kind of an outlier with some of the stuff. Like I was hearing judge calls about it in Osaka still, of like you're responding to Sink Below with with an instant. So Gone in a Flash triggers what happens to the instant because it's a discharge. Does that fizzle with the Sink Below? And it's like people are still having judge calls about that card because it's so ridiculous.
Dude, world
it's
premiere
cool,
judges
but
have to be on their toes. Holy
I-
Yeah.
yes,
I do think we've talked about that. It was a quick little conversation, but this is a call-in show, and we have a caller. Did you want to bring him in?
Sure. I didn't realize she had posted. Oh, okay. All right.
Kevin
I'll
Kevin will go check on the mic for Can you see me?
I can see you.
Can you see me on YouTube?
Oh, I don't know. I have the YouTube blanked.
You might lift your head up a little bit. We had TCG talk in chat. I'm excited overall for the big ticket cards. Last preview season was less fun. I really enjoyed it, but I also get excited about seeing a Wounding Blow reprinted. So it doesn't take a lot to, whatever. Darth Prentice said Emissary of Wind would like to have a word with Kevin. That card was kind of cool.
That's gonna be like 2 words. 3 words. Bad E-strike.
Kenny says red sinks are OP. I don't even want to think about that. But we have
E-strike, one word.
E-strike, one word.
It's pronounced S-strike.
S-strike.
I guess I've always seen it E-strike.
I think
True.
people are lazy, and anytime you can omit a hyphenate because you're lazy, then that's the correct spelling.
Or most of the word enlightened. But we have a caller on the show. Caller, what's your name and where are you calling from?
Hi, I'm Captive Goat, and I'm calling from your local Harrisonburg College. As I sit in my office at work.
Way to dox yourself on national TV.
It's
ladies,
true.
Ladies and gentlemen, there's a goat in Harrisonburg.
We have more than one goat. We have a whole herd.
Oh.
Do you?
Mm-hmm.
Is this a euphemism or like actual goat?
There are actually goats in Harrisonburg.
Okay. That's kind of cool.
I've never seen a goat in Harrisonburg.
You have lived in a goat's house.
That is true.
Or at least stayed a night.
Okay, so what's your take? What would you like to talk to us about on the show?
I would like to explain exactly what that noise is. And what that noise is the boreal winds from the north coming down south to kill every single warrior that has ever existed.
That's right, Captive Goat, our resident warrior player, who is very upset about a specific action card that we learned about an hour ago. So Jarl he's coming out, he's getting his own. What is it called?
He's getting it all. Jarl has it all.
He's getting his Armory Origins deck box. Origins, Armory deck Origins.
He's getting the complete package.
Jarl's getting a package.
I hear he's getting a pole arm, that being the first ever pole arm.
All right, we will get into the pole arm. We will get to the pole arm.
So yeah, would you like to elaborate on your take for us a little bit?
So like Enigma was like for warriors.
Whoa,
like it was rough.
Frick.
But that,
maybe not that.
But Jarl is like 4 of them all at once.
My goodness.
Okay.
It's horrible. Like we can't do anything.
No, stop.
Like Bolton can't save. He can't be an ice hero. Ask Kevin. Kevin has watched me die plenty of times on Bolton into Icelander. It's one frostbite and the game's over. Frostbite has the subtext, parentheses, if the opponent's hero is Bolton, they lose the game.
That sounds like quitter talk.
That's not quitter talk. That's I lost the game talk. I have to follow the rules, Mara. I can't just cheat. I don't know what you're thinking, Allison.
Frick.
There are 3 other warriors. Well, have I got news for you? In the Oldhim meta, the only way we could get through the Elemental Ice Earth Guardian was like to set up these big 3 triple hit turns where you're like, what I'm going to do is I'm going to get out Supremacy and like an E-Pot, and I'm going to break Courage, and I'm going to throw everything in the kitchen sink right at the old man. And I'm hoping that the rubble will crush the old man. And sometimes it did. It most of the time didn't. But now the old man is like, I noticed you were setting something up with your boots. What if I made you walk barefoot in the cold? Well, I don't want to walk barefoot in the cold. He can just destroy it on command.
So I would like to re-emphasize, valued member of the chat, Darth Prentice.
No.
Have you considered getting good?
Oh, frick. That's not the burn I expected you to repeat.
I have tried for 2 years to get good.
Okay. I do want to backtrack a bit, and I want to talk about, so specifically, one of the cards that was spoiled today for Jarl in his Armory deck is a new action that is not on Fabric. Frick, I gotta pull it up somewhere else. That's a new action card. If I can pull it up. Here we go. Ice Guardian action. Ice Fusion. Costs 3. If this is fused, destroy a piece of equipment with a -1 counter. You may create a Frostbite token in an exposed chest, head, arms, or leg zone. And it's an ice card. So, like, if you
3
have...
block blue.
I mean, I feel like, it's 3 block, it's blue. It checks a lot of bases. Like, it does a lot of things that he wants in his deck, but one thing that it does for other people is it destroys their Valiant Dynamo. And I think that's specifically what you're talking about?
No. That's the next thing I'm talking. We haven't even gotten past Dory yet.
Okay.
We are 2 of 4 right now, my friend. We're talking about how he disrobes Dory to death. No, next we move to the sands, and in the sands is Kasai. He froze all the sand. It's awful. You're like, man, you know what I love about Kasai? I love value. And you know what Jarl loves? Jarl loves taking nice things away from kind young women. It's just gonna be impossible. Like, he's like, oh, I noticed you blocked once with Dynamo. Well, lucky for me, I have been sitting on this in Arsenal to just take away all the value you get from your value engine. Now, would you like to continue to play the game? And my answer is no. No, I would not like to play this game.
WinCon. Make the warrior not want to play the game. Got it.
It's a real classic. Though, It is paired with the Warrior Classic, LL the opponents by surrendering.
I'm just saying, I've been running Powder Keg and Dash.io for like 6 months now, and you have not been this angry.
Okay, look, I can play around Powder Keg because I've read through all your lists. I've read your book, Rommel. I know how it works.
What the
Okay? But fear not. Those boreal winds, they're strong. They kill the lightest of the warriors, the aggroest of the dawn blades, the valuest of the Kasais, but there is one corpse, one sentient corpse covered in glistening gold that can save us. And that's the man who learned how to put back on his clothes, Olympia.
Oh no! I forgot about Olympia.
He can put his clothes on.
He can put he's got the hidden hero ability.
Jarl's like, I'm gonna steal your winter
shirt.
Yeah, Jarl's like, I'm gonna steal your winter coat. And Olympia's
no.
like, joke's on you, I brought 5.
Olympia meta incoming. Holy frick.
Olympia is the worst warrior, but he's the worst warrior that is my hero. Because Olympia truly embodies what it means to be a warrior, which is to lose all the time, forever.
No, what it means to be a warrior is to put on an extra jacket when it gets cold outside.
That's what it means to be a dad, which is why I'm convinced Olympia has children.
Sure.
It's canon.
Wait a second.
Could you please discuss the thought that gold is in fact not the payoff?
Gold is so the payoff.
Okay.
It is. It's what's going to pay for Olympia's children's education. He's putting that gold in savings. He might lose that day and the next day, but by investing in high return savings account, he's winning in the future. That's the payoff.
Okay. Okay, wait. Okay, so we're gonna take a step. Okay, so it sucks. We're getting ice back in the meta, and that kind of sucks, right? Like for a lot of heroes that are value based, and it's not just like traditional when you think of value in Flesh and Blood, but it's also other decks that accrue value in cards, like aggro decks. Aggro decks will also be affected by ice as well. What did you have to say?
Wait.
What?
Does the Guardian just like crawl around and die to Illusionist?
Uh-huh.
And the top deck right now is an Illusionist who doesn't like aggro decks. And we're releasing a Guardian deck which dies to Illusionist.
Yeah.
To suppress the aggro decks.
Shush.
Yeah.
Shush.
Okay, so I was thinking like winter, but I'm thinking like the sun has burnt out.
Ice Age?
Yeah. But not even like Ice Age, but like Ice Planet. I'm thinking like Water World with no sun.
No, it's fine. Allison, it's fine. The illusionists will keep the Jarl decks at B tier so that you can thrive.
B tier is the only place I hang out. B tier is the best I've ever done, Mara. You're putting them in the tier with me. You've put the fox in with the hens. You've put the black bear in with the goats.
I think
put Mara in the local Roanoke meta.
Wait, black bears.
Well, that's true. That's true. That happens.
Black bears actually don't eat goats.
Hyenas?
Excuse me. My friend, we lost so many goats to a black bear. He didn't eat them. You know what? He didn't eat them. He just showed up. He was like, "Hey, you look like a thing that could die." And the goats were like, "I am a thing that could die," and then they did.
Not the black bear.
Okay. Kevin, if you want to reel us back in,
what? That line has snapped.
Okay, I do want to talk about Jarl a little bit in the sense of I feel like there's a ton of decks of like kinds of Jarls out there, and they all suck. Like I think one of them seems really cool, and one of them seems value oriented, but you don't actually have a win con. Now that we've seen his weapon and all of his stuff, what does he do? Like what's the Jarl game plan?
Crown of Seeds.
What is the value game?
No, because he has accidentally put a -1 counter on it and then destroyed his own Crown of Seeds. So he can't use Crown of Seeds.
Jarl mirrors are going to be interesting in LL.
Jarl mirrors are going to be silly.
I mean, it's going to be. My guess is they're not going to mess with the Earth stuff out of Rosetta too much, because it doesn't do what you want. It is kind of actively like anti-synergistic, with like putting counters on equipment, just because like Plow Under and Felling are great for disruptive tools, except they're not on hits. They're guaranteed. And then you have to like jump through hoops with bad Earth cards that also don't have on hits that matter. So he's going to just do standard Guardian stuff, Spinal, Chokeslam, CNC, all that stuff. Like CNC is going to be his favorite card.
True.
Like you put Crown of Providence in the deck to deal with CNC, and he's like, "Go for it, do it. You're doing my job for me." So it's going to be
that's a good point because you just break it in response to the CNC, and then now you just have a piece of equipment open.
It's a place for a Frostbite suddenly. So it's like just going to be standard, generic, good stuff Guardian, and then his late game is pretty disruptive. Or it's not like pretty disruptive, but like it's good value, and it's like on hit 6 on hit Frostbite is pretty good, it turns out. So
I think it is going to be interesting to see where he falls on the like Earth Ice spectrum, because like I think the Earth cards are going to be better for him than the Ice cards. Like I think he's going to get a lot more mileage out of Felling of the Crown than Channel Like Frigid. But his deck seems like it has more synergies with the Ice cards.
yes.
So I think it's going to be actually very interesting to see like how players kind of strike that balance and find where that line's going to be.
I feel like we end up with fatigue, right?
Not necessarily.
Like I think you slow them down enough. You have like the bare minimum number of Earth cards, which is mostly just some like Earth blue block 3s. I'm looking at you, Autumn's Touch, and then maybe a few Earth D-reacts, and then you play Felling of the Crown, and you play Plow Under, and maybe Earth Body, and maybe one other Earth piece in case you need the emergency an Earth piece to your graveyard to set one of them up. Then you launch those things at people, and then at the end of the game, you're like, hey, also all these auras that are in my deck now all block for 4 whenever I block with my chess piece because it makes the little embodiment of Earth, and I go for this like ultra long My Blues Matter game plan at like the end of the game because Guardian Blues are incredible.
And the weapons are incredible.
Like it is kind of what Oldhim was doing, but Oldhim had Crown of Seeds to like do it even faster. Like I think every Guardian can just rely on that to some degree. Even Bravo can do that.
It is worth noting, however, that every Guardian can do that. New would like to have a word with that game plan though, because that game plan gets demolished by
or Enigma. Or
and Enigma too, but like New specifically, the like I'm gonna lean on my really good blues. New eats that alive. Like we've seen a lot of the Guardian decks lately move very far away from the good blues because they just can't afford to run them with New in the meta.
That's fair.
I will say some of the blues he's getting don't do anything for Enigma or do very little.
For
because it's like for New.
The fusion
like
ones are definitely.
The one he just got today doesn't work because she can't fuse it. So it would literally just be it would be 0 cost, no go, or it would be no go again, make a Frostbite.
Actually, you know what?
The new mug? Is that the new mug? Mara? Your new mug? Mara got a new mug to be on stream today. Is what
it was on clearance and Halloween stuff.
Heck yeah.
I like it. I already have like 2 like this, but this one has a handle. The other one I have doesn't have a handle.
That's pretty sick.
Okay, hot take here. Hot take.
You've had some, but we'll let you have more.
We got a BNR coming Monday, I think.
Yeah, Monday.
Wait, really? Wait, it's Monday?
Yeah, it's Monday.
Man,
that means we have a chance to ban, but also unban some things. And what I'm thinking here, this is big brain.
I agree.
This is big brain. We unban Crown of Seeds. Now I know what you're thinking, Allison. Crown of Seeds is crazy, and I agree. But you want to know? I'm going to employ the ancient warrior trick of they'll LL eventually, and this will get them the LL faster. He'll just run himself to the finish line. We can all kind of chill down in B tier while he's in triple S tier. And then we'll be like, okay, he's done. Ban Crown of Seeds again. And then we'll just coast when he's out of here. We'll just play normal games.
All I heard is that losing to Jarl, you can still chill while losing to Jarl. And so regardless...
You have no choice but to chill losing to the Northern Winds.
So. I definitely... Wait, that's an Oldham specialization. You can't even run that. So... I
got another hot take, too.
Okay. Last hot take.
Last hot take? Okay, well, listen to this. Heavy. Heavy is now a thing on weapons. Things like cool pole arms. We've had a lot of pole arm... We've had now classes where we have sets built kind of around weapons, we think. This coming cool set's coming up, right? It's going to have daggers for warriors, daggers for ninjas, daggers for assassins. It's the dagger set. Maybe.
Maybe.
One day, we get a cross between warrior and guardian where they both have pole arms, because pole arms are the coolest thing on this whole planet. And then we get a heavy warrior pole arm. I know what you're thinking. What is warrior going to do with that?
Oh, it's like
warrior has a shield.
It's like
warrior has a shield you've never seen. Nobody's ever seen it, but we have it. And we could finally have an excuse to use it if we had a pole arm.
I've seen it. It's called Steel Braid Buckler.
No, it's Bloody Opal.
Oh, yeah.
All right.
Steel Braid Buckler, I'm actually pretty sure is a Guardian thing.
It is. The shield is Bastion of Unity.
No,
it has a unity effect. I don't remember what it does, but it has a unity effect.
I'm going to make the homicide pact. I can't take it anymore.
Well, actually, real quick, what is everyone's predictions for the ban list? Or what we're going to see on Monday, real quick?
I don't think there's a whole lot of question that High Octane is out.
Yeah.
This is from the Dash.io player who makes the majority of her income by telling people how to play Dash.io. For the love of Christ, ban that card.
Yeah.
The card is fucked up.
It's really, High Octane. Really okay, what are the chances at CYB? I'm saying 60%.
I'm saying 15%.
I'll say 40%. I think it's less than 50-50, but I would not be surprised if they banned it.
Kevin?
I'm not sure what they do with CYB, but it's possible it's on there in some form, because like restricting it or color coding it basically bans it.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, I think if you're gonna color ban it, you might as well just ban it. I don't think there's any way that could be played in any other iteration.
Darth, shut up. Go ahead.
I'm gonna. You want my hot take ban?
Hot take ban?
I have one small hot take ban. I think Tome of the Aetherwind might get restricted in LL.
Yeah.
I think 15 Tome Kano is shockingly consistent.
Yes.
And I don't think they're gonna nerf it into the ground, but I could see them taking like just one of their best tomes and just restricting it.
And they leave Tome of Fjandal because it's the generic and it's played by Lightning Greaves heroes.
Yeah, I think Tome of Fjandal's fine. And Tome of Aetherwind is just strictly better too. Like it is the best tome.
So I don't play LL at all because there's no warriors in LL. But
all the warriors are in LL.
They are not.
You can play Young Kasai in LL Blitz.
But there's like, isn't LL supposed to be this like area where you do all these crazy things, but then they're like trying to like balance it? Like, I thought it was supposed to be the go do degenerate things for an hour game.
So,
it is, but there's a line.
So the problem was Starvo was doing the things Starvo was doing were so degenerate, nobody else's things mattered.
Yeah.
So they had to tone him down. And Kano with 15 tomes is not there, but is probably about a half step above everything else. Like, I was watching Kano's kill Prisms on Sunday in Osaka, which is not supposed to happen, but it was, because
I watched a Kano kill a Prism in Amsterdam.
Yeah, that too, and that was without open the floodgates.
Wonder how
And that
much
was into Spell Void 2, AB2, full hand, like insanity.
I wonder how much like bonus work they didn't expect they've piled on themselves because of LL. Because I feel I would be willing to bet in some dev meeting they were like, hey, we're just gonna put everything in here, let them all go have fun in this, and then people start to care about it, and now they're like, oh god, we have to balance another format.
I feel like
I think
hire more people, right?
Yeah.
Well,
I think this is something they expected. I think they fully
Yeah.
expected this to be a real format. And it's a thing because they've been talking about this literally since the game came out, that they want this to be a real format.
Since
and they want this to be
the
a fun
LL
format.
system was introduced, at least,
Mhm.
yeah.
Okay, well, Allison, I will say, always, I'm sorry, Goat, I will say, it's always been a great
That's
time when you've
okay.
come on. Thank you so much for the call. Is there anything you want to shout out?
No, I don't want to shout out anything.
Like our merch, store?
Oh, yeah, go to the Table Pit merch store. They sell items you can purchase with legal tender.
What about Raid Shadow Legends? Tell us about your feeling on Raid
No.
Shadow Legends.
No,
Pick
we
up
refuse.
until they give me money. I don't want to hear their name. Now, if they
I'm
give
not
me
taking
like
their money.
if they give me like 50 cents, I'm probably selling out and getting a tattoo.
No, you're
on my
not.
face.
Don't lie to no.
So, thank you so much for coming on. We'll catch you next time.
All right. Well, maybe it depends on if I'm doing things on a Thursday.
If we get Mara on or not. Yeah, I know. All right.
I gotcha.
Thank you so much for coming on.
Bye.
That was a whirlwind. It started really
that
rough.
was delightful. It
started
started
really
with,
rough.
and there was this 4.
No.
And then it went downhill from there.
No. Okay, so TCG Talk in chat said something really interesting, but he's not in waiting room right now, so we can't pull him on to talk about it. Goblin Reserve said he loves us. I assume that means he's getting off the computer. We love you too. And I think the next topic I was going to bring up is 2025
That is one of the years.
World Tour. Player of the year.
Show.
I've got a small hot take about player of the year. I am a little bit like I am excited for the player of the year race. I think it's gonna be a really cool thing. I am slightly disappointed that there's not like a cap on events for it. Because it's just you just get points per event. Which I think the points are
how the points are weighted or not.
Yes, yeah, we got the points listed the other day. And they are very, very top weighted. Like you get significantly more points for doing well at larger events than smaller events.
That sounds very LSS of them.
Yeah,
at least considering like how they do XP and stuff like that.
Yeah, which is good. But I am slightly concerned that it does very much reward the players that are just traveling to everything. Which like there's some argument that that's like not a terrible thing if you want to crown a player of the year. Having a player that's like just consistently topping everything is like a good benchmark. But I was kind of hoping that it was gonna be something like take your top like 7 results and then your points for the top like 7 events that you've been at. Where like it's enough events that like you still have to consistently do well. But like a little less weight on just like I went to 37 events in 52 weeks. You know, that's just going to make it a little bit harder for people to compete against.
Yeah, so I guess for a little bit of context here, Worlds points go down to 32nd place, with first getting 32 and 25th through 32nd getting 6.
Okay.
Pro Tours are 28, the same placements, with first getting 28 and 25th through 32nd getting 5. And then Callings, it drops off a decent bit, with first getting 16 and 25th through 32nd getting 3. Nationals has similar points to Callings. And then Battle Hardens are 96 and above. First gets 4, and then 2 for 2nd through 8th, and 1 for 19th through 16th. And Battle Hardens under 96 players, 2 points go to first, and 1 point goes to 2nd through 16th. So Battle Hardens are worth very little.
Yeah.
I have a question. I thought during the announcement that there was going to be like, and maybe I'm interpreting it wrong, that there was 3 best players.
There is a best player, and then there will be a top 3 in each region. In addition to the best
top
one. So there'll be like
3 in
10 total winners.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
I think so. My perspective.
There's 9.
Is it
9
nine?
total.
I thought there was 8 best and then
Player of the year, and then 2 regional champions because you're the regional champion if you're the best player.
Oh, okay, sure. I thought
And
best player
then
and regional champion were
seconds
different.
and
That
thirds.
makes sense. Okay.
My thoughts on World Tour, which I think is their thoughts, which is that the point of the World Tour is to inspire very specific people to travel the world to go to as many events as possible and basically make a career out of this.
Sure.
In the long term, maybe not necessarily next year, but we do know some players that basically have a career doing this, Mara. So the I think the point of waiting it to so it's preferential for those players is better.
I mean, yeah, if these are the players that are playing the most events, they should have the best chance of winning it because, well, the players that do consistently well and then they also happen to go to more events than everyone else, like, yeah, that makes sense. They're still also favored even if there's a cap on how many events are counted towards it because they have the most opportunities to do well at these events.
That's exactly why I think a cap is okay. Like I think you still incentivize people to just go to as many events as you want as you can because the more events that you go to, the better your chances of getting a good placement.
If the cap was like 10 and then I was just able to make 10 events on accident and first place all of them, it would be just a weird coincidence, but I would win.
If you were to first place if you were to go to 10 events, first place all of them and have enough points to win, you probably won 2 Pro Tours and Worlds.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, if there was
you probably went to 1 PT in Worlds and you won both of them.
I guess part of what you want out of a system like this is you want the Alex Argeyus, where it's just like you show up for certain things and you're not the huge pro player who travels all over for everything, but you won all the events you needed to and you had a hot streak that year and you won Player of the Year that year.
I think if he only showed up to Worlds and won that doesn't necessarily make him Player of the Year. If Pablo goes and wins 2 callings and top 8's a PT and top 16's a PT.
I guess I mean the same scenario as we had in Second Worlds happens in a different way for the World Tour Player of the Year, where it's a player that just went to 10 events and then they won all of the events that of the 10 events they went to.
But they're not going to a calling and 9 battle hardens. There literally isn't enough points to do that. If you win 8 battle hardens and 5 PQs and 1 calling, that's, in my opinion, that's not necessarily deserving of Player of the Year, although that's a hell of a lot of battle harden wins.
Yeah.
I think if you're gonna top 8, 2 PTs, top 16 Worlds, and win 2 callings, that's a pretty freaking good year. And should definitely be in contention because this is not about it is about it's consistency, but it's also consistency at the highest. Like the higher the level, the more points you should get. Like that system just makes sense. I don't know.
I guess with these numbers, getting first at Worlds is 32 points compared to a good battle hardened is 4 points, and that's just 8 battle hardened wins by winning Worlds.
Yeah, you have to win 8 battle hardens to outplace
to match
the person who gets.
I will say this, even though this actively is negative for my personal chances of winning Player of the Year, I like that battle hardens are so strongly disincentivized on this because someone like me, I go to a ton of battle hardens. I don't go to that many callings. But if battle hardens were worth even half a calling, I in an average year will do 3 callings and 12 to 15 battle hardens. There's just, especially particularly in the United States, we just get so many more battle hardens than anyone else. I think if you weighted battle hardens more heavily, then you just strongly incentivize American players.
Yeah. I will say something that I like is that the battle hardens, even regardless of how many people are in it, the points go all the way down to 16th.
Is the under
yes.
The under 92 is still down to 16th?
Yep. It's 2 for It's
For the
2
win
for
and
first, and it is 1 for second through 16th.
Oh, okay. I just assumed it was second to
Um,
8th. I don't think I looked at the number close enough.
Nah, they kept it 16th, and I really like that because
Yeah, I
top
like
8ing
that.
and battle hardened is hard, and
Mhm.
top 16ing is a decent. Is not like, not to say it's easy, but it is a decent step easier, and like you can there are players who can pretty consistently go to battle hardens in like top 24, top 16.
Mhm. Also,
that
top
should be
16
worth, like,
very
something.
often in a battle hardened means you have the same record as people that top 8.
Yeah, like you're bubbling at X2
Mhm.
because you just lost 2 rounds different from the person who made 8th. Like it, I like that goes down to 16th. I like that the nationals and callings, like that all the other events go to 32nd because
So
like
the way
it
this current system is set up, uh, if let's say the first pro tour of the year is just won by a traveler, like somebody who just goes, like, let's say Brody Spurlock wins the first pro tour. Congratulations, by the way. Then he just wins. Is that where I put my money
no.
on for player of the year? He wins the first
I
pro
mean,
tour.
sure, his odds get really good at that point, but
Yeah.
he also had to win a pro tour to do that.
Mhm.
Like he then still has to do well at all the other events he goes to.
But he has more
Like,
opportunities than other people.
Yeah.
Sure, he does, but like he's also playing in more events
I guess
than other
that's true.
people are. Like that's just like the way. That's
He
just
is
like
also winning a pro tour.
yeah,
Yeah.
like he's winning a pro tour, and if he's gonna go and you can travel to all these events if you just have money. That doesn't mean you win Player of the Year.
I guess what I don't want to see happen out of all of this is we get to Worlds, which I believe Worlds is the last event in the World Tour.
Yes,
It
Worlds
seems
is
like
the last
it.
event in the World Tour.
Awesome. I don't want it to be like we're at Worlds and we know who's Player of the Year. Like no one else can match their points, or like maybe there's not a storyline in that.
So like I think there is a possibility of that happening. Like if we have a player that has just been dominant the entire year, we're going into Worlds and we're like, okay, nobody can catch them. But for that to
Yeah.
happen, they have
It
to
has-
be 32 points ahead of the second place person, which is
Yeah.
a fucking lot of points. That
is
is
a lot of
like
points.
that is a
Actually, I guess that's
ton
it. That's a
of
story
points.
in and of itself. You know
Yeah,
what?
so like
That's insane.
yeah, that's what I'm saying.
So
So like I
they
feel like
are.
if we have a player that has been that dominant that they can go into Worlds and automatically be locked for Player of the Year, I think that player probably deserved it.
So
So each
yeah.
calling, if you win it, is 16.
Yeah.
Which means you are not just 2 calling wins. That means that is a calling win where the second place person did not make top 32
Yeah.
twice. Which also
Top
probably means
32.
like
Oh.
yes, they didn't make top 32. They got no points at that calling. Is the difference twice that has to happen. And those are going to be the most common events because then there's 2 PTs, which if you're basically locked for Player of the Year off just the 2 Pro Tours, you probably made the finals of both of them.
Yeah.
At least top 8 at both of them.
Yeah. Like, so top 8 is still only 18 for 5th, 8th.
Yeah.
And Worlds is 32 for the win. So I would be surprised if somebody was guaranteed the win unless they like won 4 callings or some nonsense and top 16 both PTs, probably top 8 at both of them. Like their records have to be insane to be locked going into Worlds. Could they be locked before Sunday? Yes, absolutely.
Yeah,
That's
I
much
can see
more
that. I can see
possible.
that.
But I
don't. I want to change gears a little bit, but on the same subject. The point of the World Tour, as far as I understand, is like the way to like incentivize players to like go pro, basically. How realistic is that if you are, let's say, an adult with responsibilities? Like not necessarily like maybe own a house, but maybe own like a car, and you have like a pet, and you have
a 9 to 5.
I guess I'm not trying to call out Brody Spurlock because I don't actually know how much like what all his life is, but like for a time there he was young enough to where he didn't have all those responsibilities. He could go out and test his merit against this kind of stuff. But how realistic is the Pro Tour or the World Tour for making a professional player?
I feel like the World Tour is probably not gonna be the driving force for someone to start chasing pro play.
Okay.
Like, but I think at the top level, it is probably enough of a push for the players that are already in that like pro player bracket, like the players that are going to these events already and are doing well consistently. I think this is a really good push to make those kind of players want to do more. Like I
Want
mean,
to
like
quit their
I'm in this bracket. Like this is for players like me where I'm like,
Yes.
you know, I could conceivably see myself maybe incentivizing to travel to a few more callings this year
Yep.
that I might not have gone to otherwise, just because I'm like, yeah, well, there's player of the year points at stake. And so like there's these little extra incentives of like, yeah, that's a little bit more money for me, but like, if I can place in player of the year, that kind of refunds that money that I'm spending on these events. Um, I think just like the prize money for the events themselves are the better driver for people looking to get into pro play. If you're
Yes.
saying I want to be a pro player, you're not going to go, I'm going to just go compete for player of the year. You're saying I'm going to go to some callings and see how I do. And if I can
It
start
builds your
placing
way
in
up to it.
callings, then I've
Yeah.
got some prize money under my belt. I've got some more incentive under my belt. Then you can start kind of going to more. I mean, like that's kind of what I did with Flesh and Blood.
Yeah.
I went to a couple, did kind of well, went to a couple of bigger ones, did kind of well, and then found myself in more incentive and more position to want to travel to bigger events because there is that allure of prizing. And so this is just another tier in that step, I think, to say like, okay, if you've started doing consistently well, now there's more at stake for you to want to travel more. And I think that's kind of a cool
Yeah.
system. I like that. I like that there is more of a nudge for someone like me to want to travel to more bigger events that I might not have otherwise gone to.
But that also like rewards consistency in a
It
way
does.
that going to a single pro tour or a single calling does not. Where
Yeah.
it's like, oh, you just end up on the bad end of variance one day, or you make one mistake and it puts you in the X3 bracket instead of X2 and you can't make day 2.
Yeah.
Or
I think
early
that.
X2 and you're out of top 8. This
Yeah.
rewards you for playing out for that top 32 spot at
Yeah.
those events.
Yeah, I think that's
Um,
actually a very good point on that too. Is that because we do like when we are investing the money in this kind of travel and these kind of big events, that variance always kind of has to factor. You're like, yeah, I'm gonna pay
yeah.
a bunch of money to go to this calling in Europe, and if I just like hit a bad patch of variance, or I just
It's
hit a couple of bad matchups in a row, I've just
yep.
kind of like thrown away all that money and got nothing out of it. But now there's definitely a lot more like, yeah, I might not have top 8'd, I might not have gotten the big cash, but I got a top 32 finish, and that's really good for my pro player points, and
Yep.
it's still keeping me in the running for that player of the year race.
You're
And I
you're
think
gonna
that's a really
see
good extra thing.
you're gonna see a lot less people drop from the PT at the end of day 1
Yeah,
Oh,
because of this.
that's very true. I didn't even
true.
consider that.
Because you have making that you just already have a better shot of getting pro tour or world tour points
Yeah.
than you do restarting in the calling
hmm
and going through 3 rounds of the Wild West of an open event,
Yeah,
and
that's
then
actually a
instead of
very
a day
interesting
2.
decision now
Yeah, because
because there's
like
more
you
than
also
just like cash.
Mhm. Like this is I agree with Mara. This is not what gets you into pro play. That is your RTNs and your PQs still, because
hmm
that is that step up. That's when you start playing at competitive REL, and it's also at your home store where you are comfortable and it's with people you know. But it is that step up, and it's like you randomly win a PQ or you get your qualification for Nats, and then you go play those, and you're like, now I want to do this more.
Hmm.
Yeah,
That's when it like works, because you also don't have to pay entry for those events. And you get
True.
stuff back for those events
Yeah.
to help like refund some of the costs. They give you entry promos. So like
Unless,
those are still the next step.
unless you buy a Pro
Um
Tour invite just to get second place at a Pro Tour.
that would be insane. No
you
one should ever
you
do
can
that.
also do that. That is a legal choice you can make.
I did
Um
do that.
No, actually,
I,
I tricked everybody because it's not even my stance. I don't even think pro players exist until we have more sponsors in Flesh and Blood. That's my personal opinion.
Sure.
When we have
I-
sponsors,
I think the
I
fact that
do-
Patreon exists kind of disagrees with that.
Patreon does do a lot.
It's a middle ground.
It's
but
a middle
yeah.
ground. And even like YouTube to a degree, but like it just I think all that stuff needs to get bigger. And it will.
Oh
It
yeah,
will get
obviously.
bigger.
Like and that will be as the game grows. I think we'll start seeing
Yeah.
more both like more Patreon kind of driven finance, but then also more sponsorships coming up. That just is a thing that happens, I think.
Which, like,
Yeah, go ahead.
Which I guess the other part of this that like this world tour is to incentivize the people who are like on teams. That's the type of player this is aimed at. Is aimed at the people on Wolfpack, on Runaways, on Ascent, on Blue Pitch, on Sunflower Samurais. Like, this is aimed at those players to get those people to travel more and compete more, because there's that extra layer of competition where it's like everyone playing this game is trying to mitigate the variance in their deck, trying to mitigate their variance in their gem matchups. And it's like, this mitigates the variance a little bit in your performance over the year, where it's like having one bad PT does not mean you're out. You can make up for that with two good callings.
It also yeah, go ahead.
I'll say if we want like live examples, we've got Calling Portland coming up in a couple of weeks.
Yep.
I have had several conversations with Kevin where I was like, yeah, Portland's a little pricey. Flying there, it's like right after it's like right before Thanksgiving. I don't know if I want to go or not. I've been very like on the fence on if I wanted to go. I literally booked my flight to Portland the day the world tour got announced. I was like, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I now have extra incentive that I want to go to this calling. That is now worth the trip to me. And I booked my flight that day.
Yep.
I will say, I think it also is like a positive feedback loop to where, like, let's say we have a player like, I don't know, Michael Hamilton does really well, and he starts building the storyline over the course of the year, and then he has more incentive to go to things, and then he gets better, and he does better, and it snowballs, and he's become a household name in the game, which all of that, what it does,
feedback loop.
What it does is it inspires the next person. It inspires somebody to be like, dang, holy frick, I've never seen someone play Jarl like that. And then they just grind Jarl, and then they win their road to nationals, and then they go to nationals, they make day 2, and then they want to play in more events and start building or being a part of a local team and stuff like that. Like, the whole thing is like a giant advertising scheme, which is great. And I think the world tour is that next step that I'm very excited that we're hitting next year.
Yeah, I'm very hyped for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we started late. It's like 9:10. Do y'all want to do another take? I don't know what y'all are thinking about for this evening.
Yeah, we can do. I can do another quick one.
Okay. I have a couple. I have something I wanted to talk about for the hunted, and talking about drafting at Worlds was another thing, and then there's always that take of LO weapons. Which
wait,
is,
what's the drafting at Worlds take?
I was interested about the first draft at Worlds because there was no Acilio.
Yeah, there was like no Acilio in the top pods both days, I'm pretty sure.
So I think I can kind of give some insights on this one because I drafted the set quite a bit at this point.
Yeah.
Acilio is really interesting in this draft format because Acilio is actually very, very powerful if you can get the deck. But there's a very real risk involved. So Acilio feels like if anyone drafted heavy hitters and drafted the Wild Ride KO deck, where like you can commit to this deck and you have to kind of commit to this deck sort of early. And if the pieces just don't come together, your deck sucks.
Or even like kind of Reinhardt to an extent, because you have to
I think it's the Reinhardt deck.
Yeah, maybe that's
because Reinhardt was more dependent on like individual cards showing up, where it's like if Acilio doesn't have a Comet Storm, things are a lot harder. If he just doesn't see Etchings of Arcana or Sigils of Lightning, things are a lot harder.
Yeah.
And I think Reinhardt is a little bit closer, where the Reinhardt deck was insanely powerful, where you just triple intim them for 14 twice and they die.
Sure. And I think Acilio is very much that, where like it's a big risk to go into Acilio, but it's a risk with a lot of payoffs. So like
Yes.
I think if you look at like some of the lower pods, you start seeing more Acilio because more people are like, oh, I'm X2, I'm X3.
I gotta take this risk.
I've got to go 3-0 to clinch if I want to stay in top 8 contention. But then you look at the people like the X1 pod, and they're not going like the philosophy in the X1 pod is not I need to 3-0 this pod. It is
It's
I need to
X1.
not bomb this pod.
I need a 2-1
Yes.
this pod.
Yeah, I need to just 2-1 this pod. So you see a lot of people looking to play much, much safer. I think it's actually why, like, in some of the pods, you even saw, like, a significant draw away from Lightning entirely and into Earth,
Yes.
because the Earth heroes in total are just much safer. You need fewer cards to make an Earth deck work, and you need a fewer cards. Like, it is much easier to get, like, a 2-1 Florian than it is to get, like, a 2-1 Aurora. And I think that's why, like, I know at least one of the pods was just straight 6 Earth heroes.
Yeah.
And I don't think that was a mistake of the draft format. I think that was indicative of that placement in a world championship. And 6 of those players going, I just really want a 2-1. I don't care that I'm getting cut on Earth. I know I can still get a safe deck that can put me into a decent position. And I
It
think
was the
that's
featured.
Mhm.
Do-
I
is-
I think that's
yeah.
just why you see that
Yeah.
warped kind of pod at that high level on the world stage.
is
Which
that a
that
good
was the
thing?
featured. That was the featured draft for day one.
Oh yeah.
Mhm.
So
All of this a good thing?
Yeah, I think it's fine.
I think it's fine.
I think so. Like, I think that's nothing at all on this draft format. I think that is just like this draft format has a lot of different options that you have available. I think this is actually genuinely one of the
Yeah.
best draft formats we've ever had. But I think there is a lot of different ways you can choose to draft. You can choose to take a riskier strategy that has bigger payoffs, or you can take safer strategies that are maybe a little bit more mid, but like are a little bit more consistent. And I
Mhm.
think having that range of choices is great. I think you're just when you're looking at playing for $100,000, it is much more likely that people want to just play safe.
And I think that's
I will
fine. I
also
actually think
add.
it's a. I real quick. I think it's a.
Yeah.
When I said, "Do I think it's good?" I actually think it's great because from a viewer perspective, all of that was
Mhm.
like super interesting. Okay, you get a few more Earth games, but then when you actually see a Lightning hero show up, it's like kind of hype. But go ahead.
I will add to that. The pod was 3 Florian, 3 Verdance, 2 Aurora,
Mhm.
which is a 6-2 Earth Lightning split, but it is a 5-3 Runeblade Wizard split.
That's a lot.
And
of
that
Also,
which
we're
also the
mentioning that
two.
one of the Earth heroes probably did not have very many Earth cards
Yeah.
because one of them is
Yeah.
probably just full Wizard Verdance.
Yeah, it was there was a mono Wizard Verdance.
Yeah.
And also the Auroras were actually the 2 rightmost Runeblades in that pod.
I assume that.
But the thing that makes that work is about 6 of the cards in the pack are class cards. They're Runeblade or Wizard cards, while 3 to 4 are talent, Earth, Lightning. So there's a lot less cards going around that are dependent on that talent split, the 6-2, than there are on the class split that's 5-3. So it's still a reasonably healthy pod. The Lightning heroes are should be pretty darn good though. I know Yuki 3-0'd with it, and then I'm pretty sure the other one was 2-1. I think it was Alan Lau was the other Aurora. But like that's not an unreasonable split when you also look at the way they've broken down the pack.
And since we already know that like there is a Verdance deck that's just all Wizard, you could almost look at it as like 2 Lightning, 1 Wizard, and then you have what is it, 5 Earth at that point or whatever it
5
is.
Earth.
Like it doesn't sound as bad when it's something like that as well. Like maybe one of the Verdances should have been a Cilio.
I think one of the Verdances could have been a Cilio and gotten a really good deck. But like I say, it was a risk.
Risky.
Somebody had to commit to that early enough to say, I'm willing to move into this.
You have to pull
and
the right
then
cards.
Run the chance of like not being the only person that decided they were going to be the one to force a Cilio, and then both of them just like hurt each other.
You gotta bet on other people. You gotta bet on the packs, and you also have to bet on your deck because there's a bit of variance, obviously, in the game.
Yeah,
but
you also have to not be downstream of that mono Wizard Verdance.
Yeah,
because they start that from pick 1 usually.
Yeah,
where they will just take the red zap out of the pack, And if you never see a red zap, you probably should not be playing a Cilio.
No.
Which is, I'm pretty sure, why both the Lightning Heroes were Aurora, because you have somebody that is just first cycle, like, taking every red zap.
Yeah,
and then a Cilio looks way worse.
Yeah, having someone on that mono wizard deck also sends some really strong signals to where like anyone downstream then is like, oh, there are just no playable wizard cards in these packs because they're high prioritizing wizard over like very, very playable earth and lightning cards.
Yep.
So that sends a very strong signal of stay the hell out of wizard.
Yep.
I have another question, which is, we know, let's see, which is this? Friday draft pod 2. No, where's draft pod 1? So draft pod 1 actually in seat order was somewhere. Please show me what. Okay, maybe I don't have it pulled up.
I think the featured draft was pod 2.
Oh, draft pod 2. Okay. Yes. I see it now. Yeah. So this is another thing that I think is really interesting in drafts, especially just my knowledge of draft as a whole, not just in Flesh and Blood, but then also what we've seen in Flesh and Blood for the longest time, right? So it goes very literally Florian, Verdance, Aurora.
Yeah.
Yep.
There's none of that. What was it? Where like you'd have a set and you'd be like, okay, the person I play in round 1, which is on the opposite side of the table of me, is a mirror match because everyone played to their seat and we all got different heroes.
So
they would be mixed up as opposed to in order like this draft is, where it's 3 Florians, 3 Verdants, 2 Aurora, all sitting beside each other.
So I'm attributing that in this set to there is no card at common that can only be played by one hero. And whenever you pass a lightning card, there's 2 lightning heroes that can pick it up. If you take one of 2 lightning cards, you're still passing a lightning card, and lightning could look open, and then from the other side, lightning is going to be open. Because if they're taking it, you have 2 people cutting it off. Florian, you're going to see both Earth and Runeblade cards. If you see enough of each, you're going to end up in Florian. And you don't have the lanes are not as clearly defined. And we saw the first inkling of this, I think, in Outsiders.
Okay.
Where I had more drafts in Outsiders where I had the same class next to me than any other set.
Yeah.
Because the 2 Rangers took wildly different cards. You could send all the traps you wanted and be an Azalea perfectly happily. You could send, like, Katsu and Benji pools did not mix, basically at all. And then the Assassins wanted slightly different things, but they had, like, the most overlap.
Yeah.
But even the Assassins had some strong priority differences.
Yes. Oh, 100%. Like, there was 6 lanes in Outsiders, and you could have 2 Assassins next to each other. You could have 2 Ninjas next to each other. You could have 2 Rangers next to each other. And the way they've designed the card pool for Rosetta is you're going to send, if you're in Florian and you're taking all your Earth cards, you're sending Runeblade cards. So you can have the full Runeblade meet and greet, Rune Ranger Swarm, Malefic Incantation, Florian next to you. You can be in Verdance and be taking all the Earth cards, and they're like, I'm going to take all the Wizard cards. I don't care. I need 5 Earth cards, and they're going to be blues, and they're going to be the dregs of the pack later. And I'm happy with that. Like, it's not. If this was in Monarch, yeah, that's a problem. Those decks are non-functional.
Yeah.
But this set, it's not a problem because they've made this set really well.
Yeah, I think it is really cool to see this like evolution of draft and fab, where like I think every draft set has been better than the last draft set. Like,
yeah.
I think
that's
they're learning all these little tricks and all these little ways to make drafting in this format really interesting, and they keep building on each other. I think it's awesome.
Arcane came after Welcome to Wraith.
True.
That's fair. You're right. All right. Welcome to Wraith is pretty good.
It literally completely true.
All right. So it went Welcome to Wraith, Arcane, and then it's been like we're getting back up there.
We're building back up.
Pretty steadily climbing. They might have dropped a little bit going from Tales to Uprising, but not as much as from WTR to
overall a positive
Arcane.
Trajectory.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes. 100%.
Whichever way. And that makes me wonder, is the next set better?
Yeah, I think so.
Wow.
Frick. I don't
know how,
Frick.
but I think X8's going to be better than Rosetta.
So we have seen a few Draconic Ninja and Draconic Warrior cards, but they look to be Majestic or like red-only rares, which is analogous to what they're doing now, where the only cards that can be played by a single hero in this set are all at Rare Plus, which are all the meld cards. The meld cards plus specializations.
Worth randomly mentioning, there are no non-red generic draconic cards.
Yes. Well, it's a draconic ninja attack action that we see in red, but we have not seen another color. So, but yeah, like for the Drakai, for the Emperor, for the Realm, all of those, the attacks and mark target, make a fealty token. Those are just going to be reds. I think we've only seen assassin, warrior, and ninja stuff besides those.
So I think the thing I'm
the draconic mark, if it's Arachne.
Oh, true.
Yeah.
Where is that one? The contract ones?
Yeah. No. Yeah. It's not a contract, but it's
Proclaim Vengeance.
That's the one.
The other.
Sure.
Contract.
Okay. Yeah. That is a draconic instant, so it's still not single hero, but it is in a lane. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which then you have the contracts that are assassin cards that are you're contracted for Fang and Syndra.
Yeah.
So interesting.
One thing I was going to bring up is I think the thing about this set that I'm most excited for when it comes to draft, actually in CC as well, is absolutely like the Mad Lads they are, just like calling people out. They have contract cards where it's like, nah, we're killing you today. Yeah. And I think that's going to be really interesting. So it's like, there might be like sideboard options where you're just like, oh, I'm against Fang. I'm going to specifically bring in Defang the Dragon against Fang. Or, I'm playing Arachne. Now I can play my Proclaim Vengeance in my deck.
This is like a pretty face-up version of what they've been doing with Mistveil and Rosetta. Especially Mistveil Sealed was where it really showed up, where you actually have sideboard in Limited.
True.
They did for the promo events for the anime heroes, they did Mistveil Sealed, Heavy Hitter Sealed, and Rosetta Sealed. And like playing Mistveil Sealed, I was like, I actually enjoyed going back to this format. I actually had sideboard choices. It was not face up what hero I was supposed to play in Sealed, because I get sideboard and it's really cool. And it's like they're like Arcane Polarity is very clearly a sideboard piece in Rosetta. And now they're just taking the sideboard cards and shoving them in our face and be like, please sideboard for the love of God. We're gonna make you make choices for this.
That's good.
But at the same time, they're both also stealth and contract.
Oh, they are.
If you have to play them for whatever stealth cards matter, you're fine playing it for a stealth card, even if it's blank.
0 for 3. Hero. If it's solitary confinement, 0 for 3, go again.
Yeah,
that's completely fine.
I actually didn't realize they were both stealth and contract.
I didn't either. Cool. Wow, that's a good point.
The contract is so niche that it's just a blank stealth card 99% of the time in constructed, but
there are buffs and things to care about playing contract cards though.
Yes, there are. You get to play Cut to the Chase on it.
Someone
asked, a stealth card.
Someone asked about this way earlier. Do we not know what the last hero is? Is there a fourth hero we don't know about?
There are 4 Blitz decks in the collection.
Yeah, the problem is they're being very secretive about exactly what is going on with these heroes. So the only 2 heroes that we really know for sure are Fang and Syndra, and then Arachne ? So we have currently seen 7 different Arachne art, and so
8.
Is it 8? I thought there was 6.
So we have the 6 and we have the 1. And then we have Arachne Slip Through the Cracks, which is a different art.
Oh, yeah, no. I remembered something. I forgot we had the Arachne core art. That it was not Slip Through the Cracks. Right. So there are, so we have seen 8 different arts for Arachne. Yep. And there are 4 Blitz decks. So it is either Arachne gets 2 Blitz decks in some iteration, or there's something going on with different Arachne versions, or there's another hero that may or may not be Dromai.
The other theory would be it's new young Dromai is the 4th one, which is not unreasonable. If they wanted to bring Dromai back, this is probably the set to do it. But also, this would not be a bunch of balancing this set in Limited would be a nightmare if Dromai was in the Limited set. So if she was an expansion slot hero, and came out with a couple Majestics. And then they also had a Blitz deck for the young version that comes out. That would make sense.
Yeah, so specifically, if they if hypothetically if Dromai was in the set, and they gave Dromai a Blitz deck, it would be a good way to reprint a bunch of dragons without clogging a bunch of either like the expansion slots or just saying, hey, you're a new player, you want to play this hero? Go buy packs from a set from 2 years ago. Otherwise, you can't play this hero. So like having a Blitz deck that's just like, we're just gonna reprint just the rare dragons and throw them all in this Blitz deck would be a good way to do that, if that's what they're looking to do.
If all the dragons would be played as well, depending on new Dromai and all that stuff.
Sure.
But so it's either the most likely thing is it's a second Arachne, whatever that is, because we have Arachne Slip Through the Cracks, which is the Chaos version of Solitary Confinement, where it has the symmetrical first attack with Stealth Gets Go Again, which is hilarious.
Weird.
And then there would be choice. It is, but it is flavorful with chaos, but
sure,
it's going to make limited games very interesting. And then it would be another Arachne, I'm guessing, which would be the young version of the core art, which is like the piece that we saw in the middle of the 6 Marvel Arachnes. Would be my guess, because I don't think they're just going to reprint Arachne Huntsman young version, because that doesn't feel... We haven't seen like the...
Arachne mains will be livid if he's not reprinted. Actually, if he doesn't get anything out of the set, they're going to be livid.
I mean, he's going to get something, I assume, but like, I don't know if they want to keep going that direction with him, or if they're trying to just change it a little bit. But
sure,
we'll see. It's either an Arachne or another assassin. Probably, honestly, an Arachne with the way they're presenting this set.
Yeah.
Dromai is definitely a possibility, and it would make sense if they were going to reintroduce her. This would be a way to do it for sure. But yeah, it
seems neat. I'm excited. Preview season's going to come up. We're going to see a bunch of Majestics and be like, oh, and then we're not going to know how the set feels because we're not going to have a hold on the common.
We're going to have no idea until premiere day, and everyone's going to be opening packs and be like, what?
Yeah.
What do I do?
Yeah. It's
gonna be it sounds exciting.
Great. Well, I mean, the first step would be probably, if you're going to world premiere, it's just force Draconic Ninja. Like, that's probably like the safest thing to do.
I'm going to do the same strategy I do in every draft format, which is force Dromai.
True. So I don't know. I don't know that Force Draconic Ninja would be the best way to go, because they've kind of made Draconic Warrior into Draconic Ninja with some of the cards that we're seeing. It's very...
I think the overlap in the heroes is like, actually, like I've heard some people complain about Ninja and Assassin being reprinted in a set together again.
Like, what are you going to do? It's the 2 dagger classes. It's hard to balance them against other stuff. They're balanced really well against each other.
Yeah. I think it's really nice.
Yeah.
And I think having overlap in draft is very important, as we saw in, Rosetta and in Miss Vale. So
yeah. I will say I would be very interested to see... I obviously want to see the weapons for this set. The weapons define pretty much every hero we see, but I'd be very curious to see if Assassin gets a 1-cost dagger that they get to play.
Nah.
If it is chaos only, that would also be interesting.
Nah. Oh yeah. Also, that was another thing, is we've seen like 3 talents so far in this set. This is tied with Tales of Aria on the number of talents we've seen.
If you're counting Royal, sure.
Oh, just I don't know if Royal counts as...
I want to see a mono Royal card. What does the border on a Royal card look like? I want to see that.
Take the color of Emperor's border, and it's something like that, because he has the Volcor border, but it's gold and stuff.
I want to see the Royal class come out. Actually, I want to see Victor reprinted in his Royal, but that's a
that would check out.
Topic.
But I think Royal is going to be a modifier.
I think so too. I was going to say, making Royal a class gets weird when you have a card like Crown of Dominion.
Yes.
Like, you have to make a bunch of weird rules around like what happens and like whether or not you can present a Royal deck where your hero is not technically Royal.
Yeah.
Like, that gets weird.
Which
like what happens if you present Royal cards in a deck and then just like side out your Crown of Dominion?
Yes.
I see what you're saying. I feel like the rules would just my gut instinct is the rules would say during deck building you're not royal.
That would be my assumption too.
But who knows?
It makes things interesting.
That's a good point. I didn't even think about that. So
yeah.
I don't know. It's kind of neat. I'm excited about the set already. With what very little they've shown us. The story and the flavors seem awesome as well. But I think
is it spoiler season yet?
Yeah, sure. What's your card?
Draw mine.
Oh, frick.
Yep.
Heard it here first, folks. I think that about wraps it up. Kevin, do you have any shout outs?
Nope, Allison did it for me.
True. Mara, do you have any shout outs?
Yeah. So to protect your internet privacy,
oh my god.
Mara VPN, it's where you just mail me all of your social security information.
No, just go to the Patreon, Blackwing Studios, $10.
Yeah. Shout out. I've got. If you ever want to reach out to me, I'm very active on Blue Sky. I'm on. I have a Patreon. It's Blackwing Studio on Patreon. I also have an Etsy shop where you can buy original art, custom tokens with no AI. Fuck that shit. Otherwise, I don't know. My DMs on Blue Sky are always open. Feel free to ever reach out to me if you want to just like chat and ask dumb questions about dragons or mechanologists or apparently shadow rune blades now.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think the only other thing is we're like kind of I was on the thing that I'm going to shout out is I was on Tommy Fresh's Fresh and Buds.
Hell yeah,
yesterday.
I saw that. That went live today, didn't it?
It went live today, and at the very end of it, I said that we're actually moving away from UPF gameplay videos as an edited form on the Table Pit. Instead, we're going to be doing UPF monthly live streams.
Oh,
that's going to be fun.
Okay.
So I got to get that together, and we're going to try to have the first one by the end of the month. Mara, what are you doing?
I don't know. Probably. I'm probably around somewhere.
Sounds like you have a job and don't have time to edit as much anymore.
Yeah. No.
Ooh, wait,
actually...
I need a quick hot take. William, what is Smash Palace?
Ooh.
What?
Did you not watch the keynote?
Oh. Frick.
Guardian Mastery Pack. What is Smash Palace?
Frick. I don't remember any of this. Holy frick.
So all we know is Smash Palace is a new product that they will not tell us anything about, and I think it's PvE.
I didn't think it was a product.
I think it is, isn't it?
I thought they just said that Smash Palace was a thing related to Guardian Mastery Pack, and that was it.
Don't try to quiz me. My brain is like, I'm a host. I don't have to think. That's why I brought you on. Frick, I don't know. Smash Palace. I mean, if it's PvE, that would be sick. I think it's early for PvE.
Well, that's why they said they pushed back the Guardian Pack, though.
Guardian Mastery Pack was pushed back from April to August.
I think they said specifically because they wanted it to coincide with Smash Palace, didn't they?
I think so.
I think that's what they said.
Yeah.
Now I'm just gonna have to look that back up again. I'm sure we'll learn more about it when we learn more about it.
We'll probably find out more about it in London.
Yeah. My hot take is I think Smash Palace is some kind of PvE content.
I think I think if it was going to be UPF, they would just stick with the round the table because that stuck so well with people. Like you said,
I don't think it's UPF. I think it's PvE.
Well, yeah, that's what I mean. Is like I don't think it can be UPF. I wouldn't be surprised if it was for the casual players, which would imply. Well, I mean, the only thing I think of is PvE.
They did also say that like Guardian Mastery Pack is in like basically the same paragraph, verbal paragraph, that Crack Shuffle Play is supposed to be a big part of Guardian Mastery Pack.
Crack Shuffle Play.
And I wouldn't be surprised if there's some sort of limited version of PvE with Guardian Mastery Pack. And that's their way of easily balancing it and testing the waters with the community on PvE.
I'm super down for this.
PvE limited?
Yes.
PvE said Crack Shuffle Play sounds so much fun.
That's so interesting.
Because that's also much easier for them to make and balance and
and
put out into the world.
Is not
and easier for people to get into.
The E is not guaranteed to be Teklovalsen.
No.
Yeah.
I think that's it. I think that's all we got time for.
For fuck's sake, Allison.
No, stop. Allison, please.
I'm not
Thank you so
saying
much
it.
for watching.
right.
Bye.
Bye.